Hey everyone, just gonna make a video about San He Zhai, which is this cake here, which was one of the first blends that we did back in 2011. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit. First, I wanted to show you this, which is kind of cool. It fits in the hand. It's just a funny little thing that we are offering now, and it's a mini tong. So it's got 7 mini cakes in there. And we have a ripe, and a raw, so that's 2 tongs of tea right there. So if you're ever wanting to buy a tong and you didn't have the desire to buy a real huge tong of tea, you could always buy these. Would make good gifts, stuff like that. Anyways, let's get on to San He Zhai. So San He Zhai, the meaning, this is 3. This is a character for 3. He, like he xie, harmonious. Zhai is a village. And so some people said, oh, well, San He Zhai, where's that village? And I said, it doesn't exist. This is just a kind of a funny play on words because it's called the Three Harmonized Villages. Because it is in fact a blend of 3 different villages. So San He Zhai we made first in 2011. We also made it in 2012, 2013, and then in 2016 we made a Silver Teapots, which is 4 harmonized villages. And so it's just a blend of tea that was created to have a lot of complexity, excuse me, and one that could be aged well. So this one now we're looking at, so it's 2017 now, so it's been aged for 6+ years now. So this one, fairly semi-aged. We're gonna cup it right now and give it a try. So let's get started. Using my trusty silver teapot here. Yeah, I'm trying to get back more into making some more blends just because I really like them. It does take a little more coordination to make the blends because we have to account for that when we press the teas. Usually the mao cha that we use for the blends is most of it is also used in, as a single estate or as a single village or single mountain tea, and then we take from different villages and different mountains to make the blends. So yeah, it takes a little bit of coordination, but there's no reason why we can't make some. I was kind of thinking next year to maybe make a like an iron cake or some kind of more tightly compressed cake. For those of you who are in more like hot, humid, tropical climates. Let's give it a try here. I haven't had this tea for a while. I'm actually going to drink the wash. You can see the tea soup is definitely not. It's kind of a golden, kind of tending a little bit towards orange, but mostly just a golden color. It's aged a bit. This sample cake here. I'm already picking up a little bit of like caramel smokiness on this, which I do remember. It's dissipated quite a bit from the time when we made it. At the time that we made it, it was a little more present. Not overpowering ever, but now it's less noticeable. That's also something worth mentioning, which is smokiness in Pu-erh will dissipate with time. Wow. Nice, sweet, a little bit of almost like a mushroom broth and a little bit of like that tobacco sweetness that people describe. I don't really necessarily associate it with tobacco, but there's a little bit of that in there. I'm going to move on here, not drink the wash. That not quite as interesting. A lot of people ask me if you should drink the wash of the tea, and I think if you want to kind of get to know the tea a little bit better, it's one thing, but it's not the most indicative of what the tea is going to taste like. I think sometimes you can pick up on a couple of things maybe that you might not get in the second steeping, but generally not a big deal. Sometimes I like to drink it, sometimes I don't. There's no real rule about it. Right Pu-erh I always wash at least once. Some of the really new ones I used to, but not so much now. The newer ripes with the wet pile taste being strong, I tend to wash twice. Used to wash twice. Now I just dig in because that's just, I'm kind of used to it. So, yeah, if you're interested, this teapot is $9.99 silver, so about as pure as you can get. And it's the mountains and water teapot, so it's 120 milliliters. It's on the site. Not cheap, but the thing about silver is you can use it for any kind of tea. Like I could just switch to a black tea or a ripe tea in between, just give it a good washing out, and just brew any kind of tea in it. So that's the nice thing about it. And tea soup is not super dark. This isn't a super aged tea. But it's getting there, next thing you know, it'll be 10 years old, it's not going to be that long. Time really seems to move fast. It still has that bitter and astringency of its early age, but it also really has this complex fullness. The viscosity is really developed nicely. It's very full-bodied tea. Just like a little smokiness that when it hits the mouth, you taste it and then it just fades immediately. It's actually quite pleasant. Unless you're extremely averse to smokiness, this one should be totally fine, if not enjoyable for those who like a little hint of smokiness. And I do remember that the blend of this tea, it's basically a blend of gushu, old tree, and like some wild arbor or feng cha they call it, which is just unmanaged, not necessarily old tea, but not like plantation tea either, just naturally growing tea. So it's got a lot of that. And I remember when I was blending it, just changing the ratios of one to the other slightly just really made a huge difference. It's really interesting how just pushing up one a little bit and pulling and lowering the quantity of another tea by ratio, how that dramatically can change the taste. And I do remember that the 2011, 2012, and 2013 San He Zhai were basically same tea gardens, same ratios. Personally, I like the 2012 a little bit more than this one because I feel like that one was a little bit stronger. But this one I really like too, and because it was also the first one that I created. So it has a special place in my heart. Oh, I got tea in there. Let's keep going. So we're on the second steeping after the wash. And I've used about 8 grams in this pot, actually exactly 8 grams, and this is a 120 milliliter pot, so I tend to brew the tea really strong, and that's, some people will prefer that, some people won't. I like to do that, especially when I'm tasting teas, and I haven't had this tea for a while, so I want to check in, and I kind of really want to evaluate it, so I tend to brew it a little bit stronger, so then I'll notice kind of, some of the aspects that if I brewed it weaker, that I wouldn't notice. So, and this is a nice soupy. It's really frothy too. I've noticed this one, and I think a lot of there's quite a bit of tippy material in this tea as well. There's a real, almost like perfume, sandalwood kind of taste coming through now, and this is definitely was not there. This is from the aging. Now that the leaves are really like really starting to put out their flavor now in this second steeping or third steeping. It's nice. I'm gonna get pretty tea drunk here. Yeah, really nice perfume, almost like a sandalwood. I don't want to say camphor because it's a little bit closer to sandalwood type taste coming through. But it's not like a chalky, you know, it's not like if you put a piece of sandalwood incense in your mouth or something like that. It's not like that. It's very pleasant. It feels like it belongs there. Nice. Very nice. This is the kind of tea that, you know, 10, 15, 20 years out is just, when you get that dark soup and it's really, you know, changed into an old Pu-erh, where you're gonna, where these kind of like tastes that are starting to come together now at this, you know, 6.5 years of age, are really going to develop, and you can start to see the direction that it's going in. It still has a lot of power. It's got a mouth-watering, you know, feeling, or mouth-watering effect. You can feel it on the sides here. It really stays in the mouth, and as over time, that the remaining bitterness and astringency is going to provide the fuel, as it were, to transform this tea into something that's going to be complex and interesting to drink, you know, 10 years from now, or even 15 years from now. It is a stone press tea, so it's probably not going to be, suitable for tropical climate storage, at least for the long term, but it's going to be, this is very, it's very good to see that it's moving in this direction at this point. And this goes back to my video that I did about just kind of a treatise on the, you know, the tea industry and a lot of the you know, the kind of dogmatic approaches that people have, people that believe that only big factory teas are going to be the ones that can age and things like that. You drink this tea and you compare it to even, you know, like a Mung Hai 7542 from the same year, 2011. And you're going to see, yeah, they're different, and they're both going to age, and they're probably both going to be fairly interesting teas, but you know, I think for me, and I think for a lot of people, they're going to prefer to drink this kind of, you know, like Gushu Wild Arbor stuff. And I think that blending with high quality tea leaves, you're going to get a high quality blend. You blend with plantation teas, you're going to get maybe a better than if you drank them separately, plantation, you know, styled tea. So again, back to that whole, if you haven't watched that video, definitely check that out. It's kind of a long video, but there's a lot of information in there. And, you know, of course it's, you know, it's my take on things. It's not, you know, I'm not, I'm just one perspective. I think that I have a pretty good perspective, being involved in the industry for as long as I have. But, you know, again, it's kind of he said, she said, and it's really, I think it's important for people to believe what, you know, what they arrive at believing after considering varying viewpoints. And of course, obviously drinking the teas and getting to know these different teas and really making the decision for yourself. You know, I mean, you can go overseas and you can go to Taiwan, you can go to Asia, and you could, you know, meet somebody who either calls himself a tea master or not or whatever, but ultimately that's just that one person's experience, you know, and the way that they do things. In China, you know, I met so many different people that are involved in Pu-erh in China and Yunnan and in southern Yunnan, where they produce tea, in Guangzhou, in Taiwan, all people involved in Pu-erh. And if you got them all in a room together, they wouldn't agree on anything, probably, or very little. So that's an important thing to remember. Just because somebody in Taiwan or in Asia or in Yunnan or whatever said that this is the way that it is, I'd always take it with a grain of salt. Ultimately, I developed my, you know, take on tea and my approach to tea by respectfully going and spending time with all these different people with all these different perspectives, and then deciding what made sense to me personally, and what really gelled with my tea drinking experience, and saying, okay, well, I'm not just gonna, you know, dogmatic, you know, follow your dogma and just believe, you know, follow everything that you say. I'm going to, you know, think for myself. So I really encourage people to do that. And more than that, just drink the tea, you know, because that's ultimately the tea, as they say, the tea does not lie. So drink the tea, compare, decide for yourself. But I guess I have to say something while we're waiting for the tea to brew. So I've said that. Let's just try this next steeping. I'm gonna get this one going here. The leaves are pretty well opened up. The leaves, this wasn't a chunk when I put it in. It was a lot of, there's still fairly good solid sized leaves that had broken off. This is not a tightly compressed tea. And I had somebody hack away at it not once when I wasn't around. So it's got a lot of already broken off in the wrapper. Again, very sweet, viscous, nice body, but really still strong and astringent. The smokiness is totally faded now. But yeah, so definitely check out San He Zhai, and that's spelled SanHezhai. And again, that's, you know, the Yunnan sourcing brand, my own brand. 2011, 2012, 2013, and then 2016 there's a San He Zhai 4 Villages blend, which is also really excellent too, but quite a bit less aged. This is, in Chinese they call the liu gan, which is liu means to stay, and gan is like a ganjue, feeling. So, you know, these nice teas have they have almost like you can almost kind of, just by doing that, you can taste the teas that are still there. And even just breathing, there's like almost like a cooling type sensation from a lot of these naturally grown or gushu teas. So I'm getting that with this one. So even if I'm not drinking tea, I'm feeling the tea in my mouth. So we call that liu gan. Also called a hui gan. Hui gan is more like after you drink it, right after it goes down. Hui gan is that returning feeling. And this, you get that kind of, you know, this coming up, you know, feeling. So, you know, talking about flavors is one thing, but when you're talking about raw pour, it's really, I think, important to talk about raw pour and how we experience it and how it, in terms of the feeling. You know, I feel like raw pour is more about the feeling than it is about the specific taste. So I think that a lot of the reason people don't get raw pour is because they're drinking it for the taste. And the taste is it's kind of hard to put a finger on it, because it's a lot of things, and a lot of things that we typically would consider to be unpleasant, like bitterness or astringency or something like that. But, you know, it's not just that. And there's, you know, and you know, of course, I'm sure a lot of you know that. But for those of you who are maybe new initiates to drinking Shengpu, it's really about the overall feeling of the tea, and the overall experience. Yeah. So to me, the taste or the aroma is just one component of it. It's an important component, but it's not the only component. I also do feel when I drink raw pour, I just generally feel a little bit different. I find that it has, I want to say almost like a psychotropic effect as well. It's very mild, but I think that people that, and again, it doesn't affect everybody in the same way. So I'm somebody who actually gets tea drunk fairly easily. And this tea, for me, I would definitely put it up there, you know, now, because it's a little bit stronger, but I'd definitely put it up there with being one of the stronger cha-chi feelings, cha-chi teas, as it were, or tea drunk, cha-zui. But I wouldn't say I'm drunk or anything like that, but it's a noticeable feeling when I drink this tea, especially now. We drank several steeps and it's metabolizing. Still really strong, not dramatically different from the previous brewing. I think we're probably gonna Try to be, in the spirit of brevity, try to end this video, and hopefully it's piqued your interest in this tea. And if you have any questions at all about this tea or any others, feel free to comment below. And be nice if you subscribe, and then you can get updates on our next videos. We're going to be making more videos, tea tastings, blind tastings, talk about the market, talk about issues in the tea industry and things like that. So subscribe, check us out. Thanks for watching.